Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to be highlighting a phenomenal companion. His name was Jabir bin Abdullah, a person that narrates 1,500 hadith approximately. One of the top narrators, subhanallah. A person from Banu Salima, a person, subhanallah, that had witnessed so many miracles of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It all starts off him, subhanallah, at a young age, 13, 14. This was a person that makes his way to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He falls in love with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, they learn Islam at the hands of Musa bin Umair when they had migrated to Medina. Musa bin Umair taught his entire family. So his father, Abdullah bin Amr, subhanallah, was someone that had, they say that either 7 or 9 daughters. And he was responsible, subhanallah, when his father, of course, told him that during the battle of Badr, oh my son, you're too young to go to the battle of Badr, you need to look after your family. I looked after my family. And then came the battle of Uhud. At the battle of Uhud, the night before, my father called me and says, oh my son, I get the feeling that tomorrow I will not return. Tomorrow I will be martyred, subhanallah. So he says, look after your sisters and please pay off my debt. Any debt that I have, pay them off. He says that my father was the first person to be martyred. His body was mutilated, subhanallah, and his brother-in-law, Amr ibn Jamuh, subhanallah, was married to Abdullah's sister, very close friends, subhanallah. They died together and they were both buried in the same grave. Because now I have the responsibility of looking after all my sisters. I have to pay the debt, repay all the debt, subhanallah, and things became very challenging. I even got married to Suhaima bint Mas'ud, just an elderly person, just so that she could look after my sisters. She could nurture them. She could teach them. She could make sure that she looks after these sisters of mine, subhanallah. Once the Prophet sees Jabir bin Abdullah, says, Jabir, what's wrong with you? Why do I see you so upset? He goes, Ya Rasulullah, I've got a debt to pay. And of course, I don't know what's going to happen to my father. What's happened to my father? And he says that your father is someone that Allah has had a conversation without a veil. Allah speaks to people with a veil. But this person and your father said that, you know what, he is fine. You know what, his family is the one that he's worried about. Subhanallah. Jabir bin Abdullah, subhanallah, would ask, Ya Rasulullah, come and be with me so that when people come and ask me for the money that I need to repay back, when they see you with me, Ya Rasulullah, they'll sympathize and they'll feel sorry for me, subhanallah. It so happened that a Jewish person came to Jabir bin Abdullah with the Prophet and says, oh Muhammad, I want my money back. And the Prophet says that, oh Jabir. And this is when all the miracles of Jabir, witnessing the miracles of the Prophet starts and commences. He says that the Prophet told me, Jabir, take your dates, separate them, put them into piles and let me know once you've done that. He says the Prophet came and made dua, subhanallah, and he says, start paying off people, repay them back. He says, I started going to people and repaying them. He says, I paid back everyone and I came back to the pile and the pile was exactly the same as it was once I started. Second, subhanallah, miracle that he witnesses is during the time of Hamra al-Asad. He says that my camel was behind everybody else's camel. And the Prophet says, yeah, Jabir, what's wrong with you? Why is it so far back? And he goes, yeah, Rasulullah, my camel is quite weak. I haven't got the money to purchase a strong one. So the Prophet takes a stick, he goes, give me a stick. He takes a stick and touches the camel and makes dua, subhanallah. And that's when Jabir, he says that camel started speeding ahead of all the camels and goes, yeah, Jabir, is that a new camel? He goes, la ya Rasulullah, this is bi barakatillah, with your barakah, ya Rasulullah. And the Prophet says, yeah, Jabir, sell me that camel, Allah forgive you. He says that, Ya Rasulullah, take it. You don't need to pay me for anything, subhanallah. He goes, Jabir, sell it to me, Allah forgive you. He says, on the night, subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ made dua for me approximately 25 times. Eventually I says, Ya Rasulullah, take it, Ya Rasulullah. You can pay for it. I was given one ukhiyah. Bilal was told, radiallahu anhu, give him one khiyah and give him some extra. He says that the money I took from that camel, from the Prophet ﷺ, subhanallah, years later, at the age of 90, I could still feel the barakah from it, subhanallah. And the Prophet turned around and goes, Jabir, take the camel as well, subhanallah. He put a smile on our faces. He says, during the battle of Ahzab, we see that the Prophet ﷺ was really hungry, and I invited the Prophet ﷺ. When I invited the Prophet ﷺ, subhanallah, I said, Ya Rasulullah, I've got sheep and we've got some food, come and join us. The Prophet ﷺ made an announcement to the entire army. All of you, Jabir has invited us to his house. Let's go for a feast. And Jabir, worried, panics, makes his way to his wife and says that, you know what, the Prophet ﷺ has invited everybody. His wife says that if the Prophet ﷺ has invited, he will look after them. The Prophet ﷺ says, yeah, Jabir, when you've cooked the food, let me know. And the Prophet ﷺ comes and makes his way to the house of Jabir and makes dua, and he puts some of his saliva in it. And they say that groups of 3, 4, 5, they all came in and they all ate. Over 1,000 companions, subhanAllah, ate. Eventually, the Prophet says that give this to the people that haven't eaten, because people are going through a difficult time. The miracles don't even stop. He says, during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, subhanAllah, I see that we were struggling with water, and the Prophet ﷺ, subhanAllah, he took some water, he did wudu, and from there, subhanAllah, he says, come and do wudu. We all drank water as from the hand of the Prophet ﷺ, and we performed wudu. He goes, I drank as though that was the last drink, and I continued drinking from the hand of the Prophet ﷺ. He says that, you know, we see from the seerah of Jabir that he would live a long life. He would even witness the fitna, subhanAllah, and he was with Ali radiallahu anhu. He was one of the last major Sahabi who was passing away in Medina. Some say that he was at the age of 94 years old. Jabir bin Abdullah, the one that had witnessed so many miracles of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakallah, assalamu alaikum.